thank E&A for inviting me to share my story with y'all this morning. I am an RN and assistant nurse manager at a small community hospital here in the DC area. I have a background of 7 years of EMS experience before I became a nurse, which I thought would prepare me pretty well for being an ER nurse, but honestly nothing prepared me to walk into a shift every day just to get screamed at and spit on and swung at, cursed out, kicked, threatened by patients and their family members, just while trying to do my job. And that reality set in pretty quick for me. The story I'm sharing today started one night last year when security alerted me that a patient was overdosing in the parking lot. Somebody had just dropped him off. Brought them inside, got them stabilized. About 2 hours had gone by. And I noticed the patient was out of bed, kind of wandering around the unit. I redirected him back to his room. And mistakenly, I got myself backed into a corner. And, you know, you're kind of taught from the beginning, don't ever get backed into a corner in a patient's room. But this patient wasn't violent. They weren't aggressive. So I really didn't think anything of it. And by the time I realized what I had done, it was almost too late. Suddenly, I found myself shoved into that corner, and I was getting a bite taken out of my shoulder. Luckily, another nurse saw what was going on, and she came in and helped. She pulled the patient off of me, but just far enough for him to reach his hands around my neck and squeeze as tight as he could. And I remember thinking, this is not the way that I want to die. But luckily, help came. They were able to pull him off of me, and I was able to get some first aid. The police were called, and, you know, they came and wrote their report, and the patient wasn't arrested. They apparently almost never are. I was told, you know, when you get off in the morning, go to the courthouse to file charges, which I did. But I remember talking with it about other nurses on the unit, and everyone's attitude was, don't waste your time pressing charges. Nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to get done. It's a waste of time. That really bothered me. That shouldn't be the norm for when this happens. It's no wonder that nurses are fleeing the bedside. If the morale and the self-value is so low that nurses are just saying, why bother? And I don't blame them for wanting to leave the bedside either. Even that night, when I got home, I was searching for jobs at, you know, urgent cares, maybe changing to the clinic. It's definitely something I considered. You know, maybe the grass is greener on the other side. But I love the teamwork that we have in the ED. And the thing about violence is it's in the ED, it's a vicious cycle. So if you leave the bedside, then the already short-staffed coworkers are even more short-staffed, and that leads to longer waits, and people get more angry and more frustrated. Then it's only a matter of time until the next nurse is assaulted. So, and that coworker might not be as lucky as I was. With that in mind, I went to the courthouse the next morning and I pressed charges. And I went back in for my shift that night, bruised and sore. But to try to be a leader for this movement of ending workplace violence in the hospital, a leader in normalizing reporting and seeking justice, to show my fellow ED nurses and doctors and techs that workplace violence, no matter how big or small, is not okay. We have to speak up against tolerating it. We have to talk about it, and we have to stand up for each other before it's too late. Thank you for your support for emergency nurses.